YouTubers, this is another video from your friendly neighborhood reviewer Evelyn. Today we're going to be reviewing episode 14 of the Korean drama series Doctorcha. We're almost close to the end of this series, and the whole end, which I think is going to be the culmination of Doctorcha's journey from point A to B, is her finally getting divorced from her husband. She's already told her husband point blank, I want a divorce, but he's trying everything in episode 14 to win her back. But then again, it'll be a big disservice to all the fans that watched this series so far, including me, if she gets back together with our cheating husband, because that'd be a big disservice, because he needs to realize the full extent. And episode 14, so in her, he's coming across as a little bit abusive, emotionally abusive, like telling her point blank, I won't let you divorce me. I've tried everything, but you don't willing to accept that. So he told her point blank, I'll take you to court. I'll spend my whole life fortune to stop this divorce. Now that is borderline, no, that's actually abusive. I said from the beginning of episode 1 that this guy has emotionally abused Cha Jun-suk to the point that she assumed everything, the way her husband was acting towards her was completely normal. So episode 14 opens up that Dr. Cha's mother finally finds out that her daughter's tough situation, her husband has been cheating for X amount of years, has a love child, because in episode 13, Dr. Cha's mother falls quite ill with a mysterious illness. So she goes to the hospital where her daughter's working, but at the moment she doesn't want to reveal to her mom the devastating truth of what's going on with her personally, so she tries to avoid that at all costs. But due to a family dinner in which So In-hoon's mother suggests that, in this episode 14, So In-hoon's mother realized she got scammed by this old gentleman, because So In-hoon's mother is a widow, so of course she wants to find somebody else. And on top of that, we can see that So In-hoon is a product from his mom. His mom is money grabbing, only sees dollar signs in her eyes, so it's not a big mystery as to why So In-hoon became that way. Because I thought episode 13 they were humanizing So In-hoon, but in episode 14 we can see how much he's trying to avoid taking accountability, and on top of that he's not realizing the damage he's doing to his youngest kids, the 2 daughters that he has, because the mistress in episode 14 of Cho Sung-hee, let's give her the name of Sung-hee, she's finally realizing the damage that she's doing to her own daughter by poisoning her and making her act almost the same way as herself. When after the fact that Iran, Dr. Cha's youngest daughter, goes to the woman and says, look, I'm sorry that I went and injured your daughter's arm, but when she told me that she wanted my dad, she even said herself, despite how my dad is, he's still my dad. And she makes a tearful request saying, I won't go to the art school that I was planning to go to, but just break up with my dad and save my grandma. In which the Sung-hee, she comes to that realization that there's children in the middle of all of this, middle of all of this whole argument. And the other rational person here is Sung-hee's daughter of Unsul. Can't remember, I'm so bad with Korean names at times. The mistress's daughter, she has more her head on her shoulders and tells her mom the real things, but of course like any other teenager, they secretly want the same things as well, like a dad, a nuclear family, but that's not the case. And of course the most chilling part of when the mom finds out, she tells everybody point blank, like if they all knew. And when she finds out that her daughter's been living in such hell the last couple of months, she looks into her son-in-law's eyes and says, we'll talk at home, in which they do. Now there's 2 cents from the mom. She gets angry by all means. That fury as a mother, you can feel it. And when So In-hoon takes this as an opportunity maybe to get Dr. Cha's mother to convince her not to divorce him, he goes and says, okay, yeah, I'll spend the rest of my life repenting, apologizing, but convince your daughter not to divorce me. And I like this from the mother. Despite how much pain she's feeling for her daughter, they're both adults. So she tells So In-hoon, you two can deal with that matter yourselves, which leaves a very mature decision, because the mom is not going to influence her daughter either way. And she does tell throughout the journey of the mom recuperating, because Cho Sun-hee does help the mother and makes a phone call to America, which was quite a funny scene of diagnosing a condition, and the end result that Cho Sun-hee makes Dr. Cha's mother's condition better, because she has some sort of muscle muscle condition, or I didn't understand the diagnosis. But at the end of the day, she got better, and we have a good scene between both women that they come to the acknowledgement that they've done so much for all the argument that the people that are suffering the most here is the daughters, in which Cho Sung-hee tells Dr. Cha that your daughter came to me, we had a conversation, and tell her, she can go to any other school that she wants. And both of them came to that conclusion that they need to think about their kids and how's it affecting their kids. And Dr. Cha said, the right thing here to do is to thank you for helping my mother, but I still can't forgive. So they are left on that kind of mutual understanding. In the episode, we get more because of course there's only 2 more episodes left, so we kind of have a conclusion of Dr. Roy's story. He does put his DNA to the police station, and he gets a match saying some family members want to meet him, and he's happy at first at that news, and the first person he wants to go and tell the news is to Dr. Cha, in which he tells her. He feels almost a bit awkward, but at the same time he's like, the first person I wanted to tell this news to was to you. Hopefully I could ask a favor. Could you come with me to the police station to meet my, long lost family? Because Dr. Roy got adopted and went to America. Well, the whole story. And at first she said she's thinking, and she said okay, because she's in a difficult position, and I do think she may have some feelings, because Dr. Roy does, I think it's in this episode, he says, you keep on missing your appointments. I'll be waiting for you to come to me. But Dr. Roy says that in a double meaning, for you to come to me. And episode 14 is almost the accumulation of all that stress that Dr. Cha has gone through, that I'm going to reveal to the end. So Dr. Cha goes with Dr. Roy to the police station, and he goes in by himself in the meeting room, and then he sees all his, brothers and sisters, and a guy in a wheelchair that's meant to be his dad, biological father. I don't get the parentage here, got a little bit confused. At first they're all greeting each other very formally, and then the father says, I hear you grew up to be a good man, you're a doctor. That's the only good thing that your mother ever did. We find out that Dr. Roy's birth mother had died tragically. Well, we don't know the circumstances, and the only reason they wanted to meet Dr. Roy because the father needed a bone marrow transplant because he had leukemia, and Dr. Roy realizes the cruel realization that they didn't want to meet him just to, get to know him. It was only for the agenda of helping their father. So he walks out just completely dazed, and Dr. Cha's there looking, saying, how did things go? Is everything okay? And then she realizes that Dr. Roy heard not such a nice news from his family. So as they're walking back, they were about to go to the hospital together in a taxi, but Dr. Cha, as a way to distract Dr. Roy, says, why don't we jog to the hospital from here? And he's like, well, we're not wearing trainers. So they have a cute moment where they buy, I don't know if it was coincidentally or on purpose, the same type of trainers, and they're jogging back to the hospital. And in that moment, Dr. Cha screams out in the air, and so does Dr. Roy, to let that to let that kind of catharsis, can't pronounce therapeutic at the moment. That's what happens. So the end scene, after everything is kind of okay, things are better, and then we have, in that brief moment, a montage of Dr. Cha finally fulfilling some of her roles as a doctor, like helping patients. But then again, she looks quite tired, because to put this into perspective, as soon as she had her liver transplant surgery, she's been on the move, and then she had one bad news after another bad news. She hadn't had time to take care of herself and taking her medication. So she gets some good news from one of the other doctors saying that she's resident of the month. And when she goes there, she's so happy to see, some sort of acknowledgement of her hard work. She takes a picture, and then when she goes into the women's bathroom, she gets a dizzy spot, and then she starts coughing, and then we see blood on the handkerchief, and then we get that shocking end. I've seen the promo for episode 15, which is not gonna be a big Well, there's going to be that dilemma, which liver to choose from, because apparently in the promo for episode 15, Dr. Roy volunteers to donate some of his liver, as where So In-ho, I think, kind of thinks this could be his last chance to prove that he's a changed man, or to also donate his liver to Dr. Cha, but no, it can't be. It's either Dr. Cha ends up by herself and she reassesses her life, or she gets together with Dr. Roy Kim and they do a different life altogether. Because there's no going back, because So In-ho, despite everything, lives in this delusion that he can make everything better, but him like manipulating people, but he just doesn't realize the gravity of the situation. And I think on episode 15 he'll probably finally take accountability and acknowledge what he's been doing so far has been selfish and abuse to his own wife all these years. Okay, so this is the end of the video. You let me know what you thought about the series so far, and do you think they dragged out this kind of divorce situation too long? So, as I leave you, always stay safe. To any new viewers, really appreciate it. We can hit the subscribe button, leave a like, share. And to any new subscribers, a big thank you for subscribing and leave your comments down below.